Hey gamers, and welcome back to the Pashcast, the only show that is proof Space Jam was a biography. I'm Pashford Morano, editor-in-chief over at Gamersyndrome, and you're listening to the Pashcast. Welcome back, everyone, and many thanks to those who are just finding out about Pashcast. On today's episode, I discuss what happens when keeping it real goes wrong, in reference to Guitar Hero Live and its more realistic approach to rhythm gaming. As many of you may be aware, both Rock Band and Guitar Hero launched in the past couple weeks, and I am positively loving both of them. Not that they both aren't flawed, but I'm a big music game fan, and I'm really glad to see both franchises back in the running. I'm interested in directly comparing the two in the near future, once I've put more time into Guitar Hero, but first I wanted to muse about an interesting observation I had while playing Guitar Hero Live. I wrote an article the other day entitled Guitar Hero Live, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. And yes, that is a Dave Chappelle reference for any of you who wanted me to acknowledge that. I love the show, and When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong is indeed a fun concept. Basically, the concept itself is there's a scenario that plays out where someone tries to keep it real, quote unquote, and it backfires in their face. Instead of just kind of, being calm or being more reasonable about it, they get too real and then blows up in their face, or something very unpredictable happens. I relate this to Guitar Hero Live as follows. Some of you may be aware, some of you not, that Guitar Hero Live is kind of split into two categories. Guitar Hero TV, which is more or less a live streaming / music video approach to rhythm gaming, where you kind of just jump and play music videos with note tracks, and that's kind of the online portion of Guitar Hero Live, which is really cool. I'm not talking about that part today. I will get to it. The campaign mode of Guitar Hero Live is Guitar Hero Live. It basically simulates a rock concert or gigs, sets, what have you, where you're the guitarist in first-person view. So you're on stage, you look out at the crowd, you're playing with your bandmates. It's as if you're really playing the song. Ultimately, you are probably half naked in your living room at 2 a.m. playing a video game with plastic buttons, but the the simulation and immersion factor does exist. In the article, I basically kind of detail how keeping it real in Guitar Hero's case could go wrong. Not maybe necessarily in Guitar Hero Live missing it, or not that Guitar Hero Live totally screwed up the design in this way, but how, as we get further down the road, if games continue to get too real, how it can get bad. This related to me very specifically because for the past decade, I've pretty much kicked ass at music games. I've a very adept Guitar Hero and Rock Band player, and even up to Rock Band 4, which to give you an example, I went on my way to sight read 5-star expert mode, all the songs in Rock Band 4 basically in one sitting, and totally nailed that. Rocked it. Hit it out of the park. Guitar Hero Live, in my pre-launch phase, when I tried it out, I was a little worried because I was really bad at my initial play. Didn't get much better at launch day. I was crap, actually. I just totally sucked. It was like my skill was drained overnight. I was actually going to... The working title for that article and for this podcast was going to be Guitar Hero Live Just Space Jammed Me, which does actually sound kind of weirdly dirty. And it felt weirdly dirty. And that's in reference to the 1996 film with Michael Jordan playing with Looney Tunes, of course. And in that movie, huge basketball stars basically get their skills stolen overnight. And that's what it felt like with me, because I was this star player one minute, and I was tripping over myself the next. How this relates to how keeping it real goes wrong in Guitar Hero Live's case. Guitar Hero Live itself, when you're playing on stage and you're immersed in it, you're the guitarist playing with a band, the concert itself plays out like a real concert, so it ebbs and flows, it's as if you're playing. So in that case, when you're playing well, everyone loves you, your bandmates are all rocking out, it's totally groovy. When you're doing poorly, everyone lets you know. The crowd turns on you. There's booing, there's shouting. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. It feels quite rejecting, actually. And for me, as an adept player at these kinds of games, it was, like minorly humiliating. Like I could not believe that I was space jammed, that my skills were all gone, and that I was struggling with Guitar Hero Live so poorly. I mean, it was to the point where, on Rock Band 4, the traditionalist way of these plastic guitar games, I was getting, 99, 100%, gold starred most of the set list in Rock Band 4 first try. And in Guitar Hero Live, I couldn't even play an expert. I was actually doing so poorly in Guitar Hero Live, and I was being so socially rejected by basically the environment, the atmosphere, the virtual reality I was existing in. I quit the set. I walked off, Ultimately, I went back to the song menu and just sat there for a second laughing at myself because I have a sense of humor and am a well-adjusted individual. But, it got me thinking, like, I wonder if this is taken to, the nth extreme. What if, games get even more real? What if, like, something like the Oculus Rift, actual virtual reality, gets to the point where the simulation is just so overwhelming it maybe affects people? And that's, kind of despite being space jammed and, it being a plastic music game and, just kind of the oddness of the situation, it does lead kind of down to a curiously, possibly dark road. I really thought about it. And what's even interesting about Guitar Hero Live, even though it's not virtual reality, it's once removed, the Guitar Hero Live portions of the game are HUD-less. And for any of you who need an update on that, the HUD of a game shows your heads-up display, basically. Your stats, the hard numbers, your score, etc. But Guitar Hero Live itself kind of doesn't focus on that. You can see it in Guitar Hero TV and in Quick Play, but when you're performing in like kind of the single player, it's all about like the experience. Not scoring well, but performing well, kind of being socially accepted or socially rejected. And in this case, even though I didn't, cry in my pillow or anything, I did kind of, when I quit the set, when I just kind of like stopped playing because I felt so bad about sucking, I was like, man, if I had a bigger chip on my shoulder or were more maladapted, this could actually maybe screw with me a bit. Because then, some people take their games very seriously, and if it were a more realistic environment, I wonder how that would affect people, especially prolonged exposure. I kind of took it to the extreme ends, which you kind of need to analyze these problems. And I thought, for example, I felt dejected on a minor level because I was once good at these games, still am in the terms of like Rock Band 4. But now I suck in Guitar Hero Live, so like I kind of got to relearn it. And when I'm playing, live concerts, I kind of have to deal with the fact that not everyone's gonna love me. And for me, that's okay. For other people, gaming is an escapism. It's on their terms. They're being empowered. They're living this kind of this power fantasy. They have agency, and while they might have a level of agency, a lot of other games, like even if you're doing bad in Halo, for example, you're still Master Chief. You're still widely renowned as this amazing soldier, this legendary hero. So even if like you lose or you die a couple of times, you still know you're really good because it's like an echo chamber. Like it's self-affirming when you're playing the campaign. Like you're saving the galaxy, you're Master Chief. But if it was more realistic, and you were just this guy who sucked, and everyone reminded you of how much you sucked, like in single player, not just multiplayer. Maybe the game would lose some charm because it'd just be more realistic, because not everyone is a hero, and heroes are often exaggerated and overblown. So if you remind of like, your struggles or your failures or that you weren't good enough, gaming might not be as enjoyable. People can't even deal with like, I've met plenty of people who even reject first generation 3D. People could not even do Super Mario 64 because the controls were too complicated, or they got queasy because the world was too much to handle. And that was, almost 20 years ago. So when you take something like this now, live, and you deal with people's insecurities and, how people are maybe already nervous or how they had a rough day, their emotions running high, and you bring them into something like even a simulation like Guitar Hero Live, you could see some, possible consequences, especially over time. You then take that a step further, like I thought with, just feeling dejected. And then going into the Oculus Rift and considering maybe a hyper-realistic war game that's very addictive, that people want to just stay in for long periods of time. Would virtual PTSD be a consideration? Does that start to become a necessary worry? And it's a little bit of doomsaying, because if it was a worry, it would likely affect a minority of the population, because, even a lot of gamers just like to play simple mobile games. But it is an interesting thought, and I think that it's going to be a responsibility we're going to have to consider. I mean, even aside from all the game design kind of side effects and how that might affect games going forward, or the gaming landscape and gaming culture, how it's going to affect players is a curious subject. And it really got me thinking about what happens when keeping it real goes wrong. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Guitar Hero Live so far. I obviously have thoughts about the guitar, which I like overall, and Guitar Hero TV, and just the set list itself, and of course how it compares up to Rock Band. But I kind of want to get that out of the way, in the idea that I will likely play Guitar Hero Live to the point where I will kind of regain my skill, and I won't feel as dejected, because I'll be rocking out like I once was. But I don't know, this idea resonated with me, and I know Guitar Hero and Rock Band mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. This is kind of a rare moment where I had to be humble, and I wanted to bring light to that, because I thought it led to a very interesting place of introspection and kind of an analysis on where we are in gaming and where we might be going. So that's I thought that was worth a share, and I hope you enjoyed it. That's going to be it for the Pashcast today. I always like to try to keep them a bit shorter, except for the episodes I've done involving interviews. I did a couple of good Pashcasts involving Rare Replay, and Rock Band, and Guitar Hero. And those are all on my channel, Gamersyndrome's channel, actually. They all have good companion articles as well. Wrote a good piece on Rare and Rock Band and Guitar Hero on Gamersyndrome, so you should check them out. And if you like what you heard, feel free to share and subscribe, because I like me some good gamers, and I appreciate your time. Lord knows I wouldn't be doing this without your brilliant ears at the ready. So yeah, that was today's Pashcast. I'm Pashford Morano, Editor-in-Chief at Gamersyndrome, and thanks for stopping by. See you later.